installations, foundations, course, introduction. If you're already using macOS, Ubuntu, or an official flavor of Ubuntu as your operating system and have Google Chrome as an installed browser, you can skip this lesson. Otherwise, click on the small arrow to the left of the method you would like to use below to expand that section and then follow the installation instructions. Be mindful of the OS you are using. We can only support the operating systems indicated above. Our instructions have been tested with macOS, Ubuntu, and official flavors of Ubuntu. We do not recommend installing an OS that is only based on Ubuntu, like Mint, Pop, Palm Shelter OS, Elementary OS, etc. Lesson overview. This section contains a general overview of topics that you will learn in this lesson. How to set up a proper environment to follow the Odin Project curriculum. Installing Google Chrome in your environment. Assignment. If you're not already running a supported environment, decide on which environment you're going to set up. Look through the instructions so you know what to expect. Choose and follow one of the instructions below. After you have your environment sorted, proceed to the Google Chrome installation instructions. OS installation. Important. This curriculum only supports using a laptop, desktop, or supported Chromebook. We cannot help you set up a developer environment on a Raspberry Pi or any other device. You only need to follow one of these sets of instructions, or none of them if you are already using macOS, Ubuntu, or an official flavor of Ubuntu as your operating system. Pick your method of installation below. Virtual machine recommended. Installing a virtual machine VM is the easiest and most reliable way to get started creating an environment for web development. A VM is an entire computer emulation that runs inside your current operating system, an OS, like Windows. The main drawback of a VM is that it can be slow because you're essentially running two computers at the same time. We'll do a few things to improve its performance. Step 1, download VirtualBox and Ubuntu. Installing a VM is a straightforward process. This guide uses Oracle's VirtualBox program to create and run the VM. This program is open source, free, and easy to use. What more can you ask for? Now, let's make sure we have everything downloaded and ready for installation. Important. Once you have completed these instructions, you are expected to work entirely in the VM, maximize the window, add more virtual monitors if you have them, fire up the internet browser in the whisker menu on the top left of the desktop. You should not be using anything outside of the VM while working on the Odin project. If you feel like you have a good understanding after using the VM for a while or want to improve your experience, we recommend dual booting Ubuntu, which there are instructions for below. Step 1.1, download VirtualBox. Download VirtualBox for Windows hosts. Step 1.2, download Ubuntu. There are thousands of distributions of Linux out there, but Ubuntu is undoubtedly one of the most popular and user-friendly. When installing Linux on a VM, we recommend downloading Ubuntu 2022.04. There are a few files listed here. Download the one ending in .ezo. Ubuntu uses the same base software as Ubuntu, but has a desktop environment that requires fewer computer resources and is therefore ideal for virtual machines. If you find the download speed slow, consider using a different mirror for Ubuntu 2022.04, as the one linked before is a US one. If you reach the download page and are unsure about what version to choose, it is recommended that you pick the long-term support LTS version 22.04 Jammy Jellyfish. You may be tempted to choose a more recent release, but this version is tried and tested by the Odin Project community and therefore the most reliable option for the purposes of this curriculum. Step 2, install VirtualBox and set up Ubuntu. Step 2.1, install VirtualBox. Installing VirtualBox is very straightforward. It doesn't require much technical knowledge and is the same process as installing any other program on your Windows computer. Double-clicking the downloaded VirtualBox file will start the installation process. If you receive an error about needing Microsoft Visual C++ plus 2019 redistributable package, you can find it on the official Microsoft Learn page. You most likely want the version with x64 architecture. That means 64-bit. Download and install it, then try installing VirtualBox again. During the installation, you'll be presented with various options. We suggest dropping the Python support as you don't need it by clicking on the drive icon with an arrow, and choosing entire feature will be unavailable. This is how your installation window should look like after turning it off. Make sure you install the application on C drive, as it has tendency to error out otherwise. The virtual machine itself can be installed anywhere, but we'll get to that soon. As the software installs, the progress bar might appear to be stuck. Just wait for it to finish. Step 2.2, prepare VirtualBox for Ubuntu. Now that you have VirtualBox installed, launch the program. Once open, you should see the start screen. Click on the new button to create a virtual operating system. Give it a name of Ubuntu. If you want the VM installed somewhere else, then default C: location. Change that accordingly in the folder option. This is the place where your virtual disk will reside. So make sure that you've got at least 30 gigabytes for that. In ISO image, choose other, or you'll see a window open for you to find the .iso file on your PC. It most likely is in the downloads folder. Leave skip unattended installation as it is. Continue by pressing next and follow the next steps. Step 2.2.1, unattended guest OS install setup. You should see a window like this one now. You want to tick the guest additions and install in background options, and also change your username and password fields to your liking. Note that your username must be all lowercase and no more than 32 characters. If you forget to change the default password, it will be changement. Leave the guest additions, ISO, host name, and domain name as they are. Continue by pressing next. Step 2.2.2, hardware. In the hardware section of the installation, you want to set your base memory to at least 2,048 megabytes or more if possible. The upper limit is half of your total RAM, but 4,096 megabytes with the settings we recommend should give you a smooth experience. For example, if you have 8 gigabytes, 8,192 megabytes respectively of RAM, you could allocate up to 4,096 or megabytes, 1,024 megabytes to 1 gigabyte to your VM's operating system. You can Google how to find out how much RAM you have available if you do not know this already. If the VM runs a bit slow, try allocating more memory. Difficulty converting your gigabytes into megabytes. 1 gigabyte of RAM is equal to 1,024 megabytes. Therefore, you can say that 8 gigabytes equals 8 times 1,024 equals 8,192 megabytes. As for processors, you want this to be a 2 and no more. Leave Enable EFI, Special OSs only, as it is, that is unchecked, and click Next to continue. Step 2.2.3, strap on our virtual hard disk. Now, you want to leave all the settings as they are besides the disk size. We recommend giving the VM at least 30 gigabytes of space. Reminder that this disk will be created in the folder that you've specified on the very first step of the VM creation process, but nonetheless, The disk can be moved and resized in the future if needed. Step 2.2.4, begin the unattended installation. Click Next to be taken to a summary page on which you can click Finish to begin the process of unattended installation. The neat thing about it, it installs the OS and guest editions on its own without your input. Just let it do its own thing. You will know it is finished when you will see a login screen like this one in the preview section. Just click the green arrow called Show, and you'll be presented with a VM window and the login screen. Log in with the password you've set up during the installation process, and we'll have one bit of configuration left to do. It is possible that you'll receive an error like this one after clicking Finish. It means you have to enable virtualization in your computer's BIOS UEFI settings. Alternative instructions for enabling virtualization in BIOS UEFI settings. If you have an AMD CPU, you're probably looking for something called SVM to enable. For Intel CPUs, Intel virtualization technology, the error should tell you what it is looking for. After you deal with it, just start the machine and let things happen. You'll know that the process has finished when you see a login screen. Step 3, setting correct sudo permissions. Due to how the unattended installation is configured by VirtualBox, your account doesn't have proper sudo permissions. Think of them as the equivalent to run as administrator on your Windows machine. You can imagine why it would be important to have them in order. Step 3.1, navigate to users and group. First, if you haven't already, log in with the username and password created earlier, then click on the in top left of your window. Afterwards, type in users, and you should see users and groups show up. Click on it. Step 3.2, manage groups. In the window that just came up, you want to click on Manage Groups, click somewhere on the list, and type sudo on your keyboard. That should bring you to the sudo entry like in the picture. Step 3.2, add yourself to sudo. With sudo selected, click Properties, and in the window that shows up, tick your user's name like this, and then click OK. You will be greeted with a password prompt. It's the same one you logged in with. Step 3.3, reboot your VM. Now that this is all done, you can close those windows and reboot your VM. You can open a terminal window by doing Control plus Alt plus T and type in reboot and then press Enter to execute the command. Alternatively, you can click on the power icon in bottom right and pick Restart. Step 3.4, test your newly gained sudo privileges. Now that you have access to sudo, we can use this to update our Ubuntu through the terminal. Open the terminal and use these commands one after another. A note on typing passwords in the terminal. When using a command in the terminal that requires you to enter your password for authentication, such as sudo, you will notice that the characters aren't visible as you type them. While it might seem like the terminal isn't responding, don't worry. This is a security feature to protect confidential information, like how password fields on websites use asterisks or dots. By not displaying the characters you write, the terminal keeps your password secure. You can still enter your password as normal and press Enter to submit it. Sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade. Copy. You will be asked for your password after using the first one. Type it in and use Enter to provide your terminal with the password. There is no visual feedback about what you're typing in, but you are indeed doing so. After sudo apt upgrade runs for a while, you will be asked whether you want to install things. Do so to update your machine. If you have any issues, do not hesitate to come over to our Discord server and ask for help in the number VirtualBox help channel. Step 4, understand your new VM. Step 4.1, close top in the Windows browser and open the website in your VM. From now on, stick with the Odin Project TOP website within your VM and follow the Linux instructions provided. The curriculum will often require you to copy and paste code between the lesson and your coding space, as well as the terminal. This won't work smoothly if you switch between the VM and Windows because they are entirely separate environments. Remember, for the remainder of the top curriculum, refer to the Linux instructions only. Here are some tips to help you get started in a virtual environment. Enable the toolbar in your VM settings. There are useful options there that you might want to play around with, especially the ones concerning full screen or multiple displays. To do so, click on Settings and then navigate to User Interface and finally tick Show at top of screen. All your work should happen in the VM. You will install everything you need for coding, including your text editor, language environments, and various tools inside the VM. The Ubuntu installation inside of your VM also comes with a web browser pre-installed, but we'll be installing Chrome shortly. To install software on your VM, you will follow the Linux Ubuntu installation instructions from inside the Ubuntu VM. You might need to take screenshots when asking for help on our Discord. Here's how, depending on where you use it. Inside the VMs, you can use Shift plus per TSRC to take screenshots of portion of your screen. Alternatively, you can click the whisker menu and type in screenshot, in which you can choose to take a screenshot of your entire screen, the current window you're on, or to select a certain area to capture. On your host, Windows, you can use a shortcut of the host key, right Control plus E, or click View, take screenshot for a full screenshot. A different way would be unfocusing your VM window by clicking outside of it and then using the regular Windows shortcut of Windows key plus Shift plus S to take screenshots of portion of your screen. Remember, all of the development that you'll do related to top should be done in the VM. We recommend going full screen, view, full screen mode, and forgetting about your host OS, Windows. For best performance, close all programs inside of your host OS when running your VM. To add additional monitors, shut down the VM and go to the Display tab in the VirtualBox settings of the VM and increase the monitor count. Now, with the VM running, clicking View, Virtual Screen to enable. Office, you can run full screen with multiple monitors, but it may ask for more video memory, which you should have increased when adding more monitors. Make sure you enable your virtual screens in windowed mode before going full screen, otherwise they won't work. Upon exiting full screen, your secondary display may close. You can reopen it with these instructions. Frequent issues, questions. If upon trying to start the VM, you only get a black screen, close and power off the VM, click Settings, Display in VirtualBox, and make sure Enable 3D Acceleration is unchecked and video memory is set to at least 128 megabytes. Running out of space? Look at these instructions for increasing VM disk space from the top Discord server. Are you using a touchscreen? Watch a video on how to enable touchscreen controls for VirtualBox. VM performance tips: when running the VM, minimize your Windows activity. You probably want to be plugged into power as well if you're using a laptop. Make sure your processors are set to only 2 and the memory you've given your VM is at most half of your total RAM, but at least 2 gigabytes. If you can't spare the 2 gigabytes, dual boot. If videos lag in the VM, make sure to max out video memory to whatever you can, or alternatively play them on your Windows if your machine can handle it. Disable 3D acceleration if you have it enabled. Do look out for the icon in the bottom right of your VM window. This signifies that something called Hyper-V is turned on. A thread on the VirtualBox forums describes how to turn off Hyper-V completely. You want to have the icon of a chip with a V icon instead. If you don't see either of these icons in the bottom right, you have to exit full screen mode to see them. If your performance is still lacking, go for a dual boot, as this will make sure you're using all of your specs for one OS only, thus improving your experience significantly. If your scroll wheel behaves oddly in Google Chrome and or in other applications, and you have gone through VM performance tips to make sure your VM is working as intended, look into whether your version of guest editions is correct. Step 5, safely shutting down your VM. You don't pull the plug on your everyday use computer, right? Why would you do the same to your virtual computer? When you click the X button and just close out your VM, you might as well say goodbye to your files. In this section, you'll understand 3 ways you can shut off your VM. Option 1, shutting down from inside the VM with UI. Clicking on the whisker menu and clicking the power icon will give you several options on how to modify your session, including shutting down. Yep, that's the same place you might have used to restart before. Option 2, shutting down from inside the VM with the terminal. Typing power off inside the terminal will do in this case. Your system will immediately shut down. Option 3, shutting down from outside the VM. The last way to accomplish this goal of safely shutting down is by using the VLA-M interface, clicking on the File tab and hitting the Close button, which also has a power icon, will bring up a pop-up titled Close Virtual Machine. This pop-up asks if you want to save the machine state, send the shutdown signal, or power off the machine. To be safe, click the Send the Shutdown Signal radio and hit OK. This will safely power down your VM and your files will not get corrupted. Ubuntu/Windows Dual Boot. Chrome OS/Chrome OS Flex, WSL2 the advanced, Google Chrome installation. Why Google Chrome? Because our lessons use Google Chrome, and Chrome/Chromium are overwhelmingly used by developers and consumers. The recommendations we make are very intentional. Look at this usage share of web browsers and see what other folks are using the most. You choose your operating system, Linux, macOS, WSL2, knowledge check. The following questions are an opportunity to reflect on key topics in this lesson. If you can't answer a question, click on it to review the material, but keep in mind that you're not expected to memorize or master this knowledge. What operating systems does the Odin Project support? What browser does the Odin Project support? Additional resources. This section contains helpful links to related content. It isn't required